Hi, this is Sarah from Permanent Record Podcast. You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/permrecordpodcast.
Thanks, Sarah. This is Brian from the Permanent Record Podcast, and you can find us on the internet at www.permanentrecordpodcast.com.
You can also follow us on Twitter. Our Twitter account is at PermRecordPod.
That's all great info. Thanks, Sarah. Here's the Rocket Dudes.
Blue Zone Podcast Network presents Permanent Record, an in-depth look at the classic albums of the 70s and 80s. Albums which have earned a permanent place of honor both in our hearts and in our record collections.
Welcome, friends. We are halfway through the month of September. We have 99 shopping days until Christmas, so you know what that means, Sarah.
I don't know what that means.
It means everyone should be using our Amazon tab to shop for their Christmas presents.
Oh, we have an Amazon tab?
We do not have an Amazon tab, Sarah, because unlike every other podcast out there, which does have an Amazon tab, we're more kind of like Ebenezer Scrooge's nephew, Fred.
Oh, yeah?
We want nothing from our listeners. We ask nothing from our listeners other than, that they want to spend some time with us.
All right. Yeah, we are doing this for the fun of it, for the enjoyment of ourselves, and hopefully some others.
So we hope you're enjoying the albums that we've been talking about since we got the podcast rolling, and if you'd like to, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from folks. And we heard from a couple people who were a little unhappy that there was a 2-week delay in getting back to New Order.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen.
But when you see the boys from Basilton live, you've got to talk about it.
That's right. Yeah, it was basically another emergency episode. We had to talk about the concert.
That's right. But this week we are going to get back to Technique, the 1989 album from New Order.
Yes, and I'm excited to continue talking about this again.
We'll only mention in passing that we were fortunate enough to see Alison Moyet this week in Philadelphia.
Yes, and that was a fantastic show.
She was so fantastic.
She was beautiful and wonderful and sounded wonderful, and we were probably about, 25 feet from her.
I would think we were probably about 10 feet.
10? Okay.
We were leaning right on the stage.
Well, that's true. It was close anyway. It was pretty awesome.
So that was a great night.
Very thankful for that.
But the people have spoken, and they would rather hear about New Order than us talk about our concert experience.
And we can't leave them hanging anyway. We got to finish up the album.
Very true.
So let's do it. We didn't even finish side 1, as a matter of fact.
No, we couldn't be bothered.
No, we simply could not.
We simply could not be bothered.
No.
So I'm looking over at the turntable, and I see that the record is kind of near the end of side 1 still.
That's right.
So that means we need to finish this up before we get started on side 2. So
before we flip it.
What do we have here, Sarah?
Well, it's a song called Guilty Partner.
What I think is the darkest song on this record right there, Guilty Partner. I don't know too much about Joy Division simply because I don't really enjoy the vocals on those records. I tried to get into Joy Division and I couldn't. But I imagine that this song is the song on this record that most sounds like Joy Division and reflects where New Order came from.
Yeah, I have a note that I think this sounds much more like a classic New Order song than anything else we've heard on the album so far. It puts me in mind of early New Order, maybe even, like you said, Joy Division. It's much simpler, I think, than the song we just heard.
Yeah. And speaking of early New Order, before we get any further into this, I just wanted to say last time we talked about this, I mentioned that I wasn't really into early New Order that much, that I had difficulty getting through like Power, Corruption, and Lies, and that this was the record that really got me into them. And a couple people mentioned that those are really good albums. So I just want to say I did go back and listen to Power, Corruption, and Lies a few times over the past couple weeks, and I made it through, I think, 3 times, and it is a pretty enjoyable record. It's just not as, pop. It's not as easy to listen to as this.
Yeah, not as accessible, perhaps.
Right. So it is good. It is. I did enjoy it. There are some really good songs on there, but overall, I still like this sound from New Order.
Okay, yeah.
But I just wanted to let the folks know that thought that I should have liked that album more. I was able to listen to the whole thing.
You gave it another shot.
I'm glad I did. It was was good.
Well, good.
But let's get back to this one.
Oh, right. If we must. No, I say that, but it's a decent song. It's definitely different from the last song that we heard. This is back to the standard guitar sound.
Very different than Round and Round.
Yeah, I'd say this has his weakest vocals on it.
At the end of Peter Hook's chapter on technique, the technique era, he goes and writes a few sentences about each song. And he takes the occasion of writing about this song to point out that he thinks that this LP has the best New Order vocal performances on it. And I agree, it does.
Okay.
But listening to this song, for whatever reason, this song has one of the worst vocals on this record. I think it's funny that Peter Hook, for this song, he brings it up, but really this song, I think, has some pretty bad vocals.
Yeah, this is not the example I would use to say that technique has great vocals on it.
He doesn't sound as strong as he had on earlier tracks, and I hear just some laziness with the way he's singing. Now, at the beginning of that sample that I just played, I'm not some kind of foolish lover. I do like how he growls. I like the growl.
Okay, because he growled in Technique, and you didn't like it, I don't think.
In Fine Time?
I'm sorry, yes, in Technique, in Fine Time. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's other things about Fine Time that I didn't like, but I did like that part here. That's why I put it. But I think that vocally, this is probably the weakest song we've heard so far.
Yeah. His vocals are very breathy. He's got a lot of long, drawn-out words. Kind of takes a long time to sing the words.
Oh.
And I think parts of it are definitely too high for him. At the beginning of the chorus, he growls, and that sounds pretty good. He sounds kind of tough, but by the time he gets to the word lover, he's at the far reaches of his range, and it really sounds like he can barely get it out.
Yeah, that's true.
I think the impact of that growl is quickly lost by the end of that line, because he's like,
runs out of steam.
Struggling. Yeah, he starts off too strong, and then he finishes very poorly.
I think you're right. Going back to Peter Hook.
Yeah.
As always, I like the bass on here, at least. That's a positive
thing.
Oh,
yeah, and it's very prominent.
When you listen to the song, does it remind you at all of like early Cure music? Because it did for me.
I can kind of see that. Yeah, I didn't think of that at the time, but if you say that now, I can easily go back and say, oh yeah, I can hear that, kind of like the Faith era or something like a Forest or something.
I was going even further back. Some sections of the song reminded me of like jumping someone else's train.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I could see that too.
And the guitar part in this song was recorded at the Mediterranean Studios.
Yeah.
That they're at, and that it was recorded outside under a tree.
Really?
And that Bernard said he remembers birds twittering around him as he recorded it.
Oh, wow.
And then he mentioned that recording inside gave a much flatter sound, especially in that studio. Mm-hmm. And he liked the sound that he got outside with his nylon guitar.
Oh, interesting. Well, that's funny, because I do think that there's like that solo kind of part that comes in right after the 3-minute mark. And I think that sounds kind of Spanish. So considering where they recorded it, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, it was probably the influence of that Spanish tree.
Yeah, and the Spanish birds. I don't know.
Yeah. I have some trouble following the lyrics of this song.
They're odd. I have a note on that.
I'm uncertain about who is acting poorly in this relationship, the narrator or the significant other.
Yeah.
The singer says, "It don't come easy to admit that I was wrong."
Uh-huh.
But then he says, "You once said to me that I was a cruel man, and I almost believed you."
Yeah.
As if that second one, he's like, well, I wasn't really bad. I'm not I'm not really bad when you tricked me to thinking I was. I also like that he says, for the people who weren't quite sure what it means, he says, "I was blind and I couldn't see." Because I heard him say I was blind, and I was like, wait, what
does that mean?
What's he saying there? Oh, he couldn't see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I just pointed out a few things that in this song that made very little sense to me. The line, "I counted on you to give me a reason why the sun doesn't shine in the season." What does that mean?
Well, there must be some season where there is no sunshine.
Yeah, I don't know. And I mean, it sounds like he is upset with the other person in the relationship, but he's also kind of egotistical himself. He's like, "Because I always know you'll come back to me. Yes, you'll come back to me, because I always know what it takes to make you my lover." So it's like, who is the guilty partner? And then that line, when he says, "I'll always know what it takes to make you my lover," he delivers it almost like an afterthought. Like he was fighting with someone, he turned to leave, and then he thought of another line, maybe mumbled it under his breath as he left, because that's almost how it sounds. He's kind of like, "I always know." I don't know if that was by design.
Kind of like Costanza in the Seinfeld episode when he came up with that great insult that he wish he had said.
Yeah.
So this is Barney leaving the room, but at the last, even before he leaves at the last minute, he thinks,
"I'll always know."
Yeah,
kind of like that. But it's a little bit misleading or a little confusing. Who is the guilty partner here?
I was not sure who to side with, and at the end of the song, I still didn't know. I did learn from one of the books that I read that Barney divorced his first wife around the time that this record was released. So I think probably some of what he was going through with that and with that relationship ended up in the lyric here.
Oh yeah, I think a lot of the songs reflect troubled relationships, and I think it's probably not only him and his his wife, but I think also, again, we talked about the band itself kind of splintering a little at this point, and his relationship, or the band's relationship with Factory Records, which was also kind of dissolving. So lots of chaos and turmoil and bad stuff going on.
Very much so. So for numerous reasons, this is not one of my favorite songs on the album, which is weird because up until I started taking notes on it for this podcast, I didn't realize how much or how far down on my list it was in terms of songs on this record.
Yeah.
I just found it very difficult I would lose interest in preparing for this episode when I would get to this song. I actually took about 3 days to get the scamp notes that I have for it because I didn't want to listen to it.
That's so funny and so I guess now everyone knows why we stopped at song 4 last time. Well, that and plus, plus we ran long. I mean, I actually this is probably my least documented song as well as far as the note taking. And my last thing that I say is that this is not a bad song, except maybe the vocals. It is my least favorite song on the album. I kind of forget about it. It's sandwiched in between some other, I think, decent songs, although on a tape, it's the last song on the first side. So you could easily just kind of stop there.
Right.
Yeah, it is just kind of an underwhelming song compared to some of the other things we get. It's not bad. It's just not great.
Yeah, I agree. I had that written as well. It's not a bad song.
Yeah. The end of the song, I think, where Peter Hook is repeating those little bass riffs over and over again, and then it's just a single note, that really sounds to me like very classic and early New Order. Is that to maybe what you were thinking sounded like old Cure?
No, just the bass line throughout
just the
song.
Bass line.
Yeah,
okay.
Different sections.
Okay.
Reminded me of the Cure.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So this song has us both kind of down in the dumps.
Yeah.
So let's move on to the next song.
Yeah. Flip the record.
Flip the record over. And this is the first song on side 2. And this is a great song. This was a single, I believe the third single.
Right.
And it's called Run.
What the hell is happening? I can't think of everything. I don't know what day it is or who I'm talking to. But I know that I'm okay, 'cause you're here with me today. I haven't got a single problem now that I'm with you.
Well, now this ends up being the most controversial song on the album.
That's true.
And on the album, it is simply known as Run, as you mentioned, but in other contexts, it's called Run 2.
That's right, because the single was a remixed version of this song, which edited out the long instrumental ending, kind of to make it more radio friendly, and then it added a chorus at the end. So because it was a remix of Run, they called it Run 2.
Yeah.
The number 2, and that was the single.
Right.
Which peaked at number 49 on the UK charts.
Yeah, but there was another chart called the UK Independent Singles Chart, and it went to number 1 on that one.
That's right.
Yeah. I want to mention the artwork for this single. It's a little bit different from what we've gotten so far on this album. It looks like an advertisement. It was supposed to be, they're supposedly inspired by laundry detergent.
Yeah, that's right. And I think he even credited one brand or something on the notes.
On the back of the sleeve, there's some tiny print that says, cover by Peter Seville Associates after Bold. So I looked up a picture of Bold detergent from the 80s, and I could definitely see the connection. I have it here. I'll show it to you. What do you think? Do you see the connection?
Yep.
Yeah.
And it's 40% off. Get it.
It was,
That's
exactly. It was on sale, so that was really awesome. As for the controversy, I read many things that said, well, John Denver got mad and sued New Order about this song, but that isn't really what happened. Is you would agree?
I would say that from what I read, John Denver probably never even heard this song.
Yes, and that is what I read too. But, some other things I read made it sound like at first like, oh, John Denver got mad. But I found an article from Entertainment Weekly from 1991 that discussed the situation much more completely than anything else I could find.
All right, so why don't you clue everybody into what you're talking about specifically, because you're only kind of alluding to some sort of controversy that involves country singer John Denver.
Yeah.
One of the favorites when I was growing up in my household.
Oh, yeah.
My parents were big fans of John Denver.
Yeah, mine too, actually. So apparently, an employee of John Denver's music publishing company heard the song Run on the radio one day. And that's where the first hole in this story shows up for me, because how did they hear it on the radio? Were they in the UK, or was it a college station in the United States? Because it wasn't released in the US. I don't really even know.
Well, I would think someone like John Denver has interests all over the world. I wouldn't be surprised if he has somebody working for him in the UK.
Yeah. So anyway, this person heard this song and they thought Run sounded a lot like Leaving on a Jet Plane, which is a song that John Denver wrote. It actually became more famous through the group Peter, Paul, and Mary, but there is a recording of him, John Denver, doing it too.
Right.
So anyway, the publishing company decided to sue New Order for plagiarism. It ended up that they settled out of court, and New Order agreed to give John Denver writing credits on the song. But yeah, John Denver never really was involved with that, because what are the odds of him ever hearing that song?
And I think I remember from Hookie's book, I think that they settled with like a cash payment of like $3,000 or something.
Okay,
I
was wondering,
anything like super crazy.
I was wondering if you had any information from the books you'd read about that.
But you're right, he does get songwriting credits for this song from that point on.
Yeah.
Say like Sumner, Hook, Denver.
John Denver, yeah. Well, the other hole in this story that I read on Entertainment Weekly was that it was reported, like I said, in 1991, which was 2 years after this album and this song was released. So I don't know if they were just reporting old news, or I don't really know the timeline for when this happened based on that.
Well, it had to have taken place earlier than that because the single was pulled because of the legal threat, and that's why it only reached number 49, and that's why it's difficult to come by one of those singles these days, because they got rid of
all the ones that they had were ready to put out. Okay, so I don't know. That was weird that the article was dated 1991.
So let's just give everybody a sample here. Let you hear what we're talking about.
Yeah.
It's not the clearest thing in the world to me, and I guess you mentioned a couple things. The song's in a different key, the song's at a different tempo.
Yeah.
And it really is only a matter of a few seconds.
It's like 5 notes, probably.
Yeah, so it's probably less than 2 seconds. But listen to the beginning of what you're going to hear. Here's the John Denver song.
All my bags are packed, I'm ready to go. I'm standing here outside your door. I hate to wake you up to say goodbye, but the dawn is breaking, it's early morn, the taxi's waiting.
Okay, that's that.
Okay.
Now here is the part of the song that the John Denver representative took offense to. So it's really just that
right,
that little part.
Yeah, and it's similar to da 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 da.
Right. I don't know. I don't think I ever would have noticed that. I could have gone my whole life. And I've heard that John Denver song because, like I said, my parents played him a lot when I was growing up.
Yeah.
And I never, sitting there in college listening to this record or in the years afterwards, I've never heard that and said to myself, whoa.
I hear it now, but I never would have heard it unless someone pointed it out to me.
And it is just like 4 or 5 notes.
Yeah. Well, that's all it takes sometimes to make a case.
I guess. And I guess 5 notes only gets you $3,000. That's not a lot of money.
Yeah, right.
So that was kind of a weird thing. So that they said in one site that I read that attributed to the fact that this single only made it to number 49.
Okay. Yeah, because I think it could have done a lot better.
Oh, yeah, this is a really strong song.
It really is.
Although, oddly enough, when I first got the album, this was my least favorite track. For a while, I would usually skip it.
Wow.
And now I can't imagine why I would have ever done that. I think it's a pretty great song.
Oh, yeah.
Peter Hook says that it is strong and ballsy and the obvious choice for the first single.
The obvious choice for the first single.
Yeah, and as we know, it wasn't the first single.
No, not at all.
He had thought it should have been. I would say that it was an obvious choice for a single. They made a good choice releasing this one. But in the 80s, even being in the late 80s, I would have gone with Round and Round as the first single.
I think so too.
Then this is the follow-up. Because as we talked about last time, I am not a huge fan of Fine Time as the first single. So I would have started with Round and Round. This song is a very traditional, I think you said that Guilty Partner you found to be pretty traditional New Order sound to it.
Yeah.
I think that's true with this song. When I listen to it, sometimes I hear a little bit of Love Vigilantes, like the same kind of groove.
Okay.
That they had with Love Vigilantes, but I think that this song is better than Love Vigilantes.
Okay.
And I really like the lyric, anyone would think you were hard done to.
Ah, yes. I was wondering.
I think that's a great lyric.
Yeah. I was not aware of that phrase, like listening to this song beforehand, before this podcast.
Uh-huh.
I never really paid that close of attention to all the words in the song. So when I was studying the lyrics, I came upon that phrase, anyone would think that you were hard done to. And I was like, oh, that must be a British phrase. I'm not familiar with it. A variation is hard done by. And it's really basically the same as the phrase put upon.
Right. Yeah.
In my head. Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, I know what that means. Basically, they're both saying, poor me.
You're right. And speaking of the lyrics, there's another lyric that I have a question about.
Okay.
When I was following along online, I went to 2 or 3 different sites, and I kept seeing the same thing for the lyrics. And it was, well, you don't get a town like this for nothing.
Yeah.
So here's what you've got to do. You work your way to the top of the world, and then you break your life in two.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Well, I don't know what that first line means.
Yeah. And I never thought that he was saying town, especially after I learned about the history of this album. I thought, and some other people have said this too, that he's saying tan.
Oh.
Because of the fact they come from this dreary British town where it's always raining.
Yeah.
You don't get a tan like this for nothing, so here's what you've got to do. You work your way to the top of the world, and then you break your life in two. Because they got so popular, they went off to sunny Ibiza to record this album. They all got tan and stuff. And you don't get a tan like this for nothing. You've got to work for it. Mm-hmm. But what you have to do is you work your way to the top and pretty much destroy your life in the process.
Yeah.
Which I think makes far more sense
than town.
But everywhere I went online said town.
Yeah, I saw town as well. The only thing I could think of was that he meant being in Ibiza. Like, you don't get to go to Ibiza and record a record unless you've really worked hard.
Okay.
So, I mean, that's one connection you could make.
That could work, I guess.
Yeah.
But I like the idea of a tan actually better. I think that's a better lyric.
Well, I like it too. Why don't you write to him and tell him that?
Well, he does talk about the writing of this song in his book.
Oh, okay.
Barney.
Yeah.
He mentions at the time he was suffering from cuts and burns in his stomach lining.
What?
And he said it wasn't an ulcer.
Ew.
But it was very similar to an ulcer, and he was having a lot of problems with coughing. He was constantly coughing.
Okay.
And it worked out that vapors were like coming up from his stomach through these cuts.
Oh my gosh.
Going into his throat and choking him, basically. So on this tour they were finishing up, he had to really start taking care of himself.
Yeah.
And he was just kind of lying around, and he was starting to think about how hard they were touring and working to feed money into the pit that was the Hacienda.
Oh.
And this was the first time he ever thought about it and really
Like,
considered
what are
they
we
were
doing?
And he said he brought this up to their manager, Rob, saying that they needed to take some time off and come up with a plan for where the band was heading. Mm-hmm. But Rob was only worried about getting paid.
Oh, okay.
Not him specifically, but the band making an income. He says that the lyrics to this song are his feelings about this entire situation at the time.
Well, I'm glad that you explained that, because I wasn't quite sure. Sometimes it doesn't really make sense what's going on in this song.
That's what it was about. He was working so hard for something he wasn't even sure they should be working towards.
Okay.
And nobody would listen to him when he said, we've got to consider what we're doing.
That's good. That's a helpful explanation. I still don't understand when he says stuff like he's really frustrated. I don't know who I'm talking to, blah, blah, blah. But then he says, I know I'm okay because you're here with me today and I have no problems when I'm with you. Where does that come in? That still doesn't make any sense.
Right. That doesn't fit the theme.
So it's almost like, to me, that those two sections that are like back to back, they kind of almost sound like someone who's on drugs. At one point they're all panicky and paranoid. They don't know what's going on. And then they see a familiar face and they just kind of like, they latch onto that and they're suddenly at peace and everything is okay. Like I can see that happening to someone who's like kind of in the middle of a drug trip, but which obviously could also be the case, for him. But anyway, the other stuff makes more sense now that you explained it.
That same section of the book, he just said some stuff that I thought was interesting. He said that he felt resentment directed at him from the other members of the band for either pushing the group in the electronic direction or giving the impression that somehow I was seizing the controls.
Oh, really?
And he goes on to say, to them I say, I'm sorry if I came across as a jerk. He used a different word, as I came across as a jerk back then, but I was only a jerk because I was feeling so much pressure. So it's obvious who this is directed at.
Yeah, well, that's
and
good.
I wonder if Peter actually even saw it, because at this point in time, with all this trouble they've had with money and New Order guys starting a new corporation ostensibly to cut him out, I'm sure it's going to take more than in a book saying I'm sorry to mend the fences. But I just thought it was interesting that it was in that book, because there's no olive branch extended in Peter's book.
No, I didn't hear anything you've told me about that book making it sound like he wants to reconcile.
Yeah. Interesting read.
Okay, very good.
Did you watch the video for this?
I did watch the video for this, and it was interesting.
I wouldn't go that far.
Well, interesting in that I wasn't quite sure, again, what they were trying to get across. But...
Well, I thought it was a terrible video, but it was less terrible than the other two that we watched.
Yeah, that is exactly what I said. It's probably the best video of the three, but that's still not saying much.
Yeah. So there's an older guy, an older gentleman.
Yeah.
A nice hat on.
He has a fantastic hat. I love his hat.
And I saw his name. I saw the name of the guy who played him, and I meant to look him up, and I forgot to.
Okay.
apologies for that, but he's just kind of on a sidewalk cafe or something.
Lounging
there's a
around.
table there, and he's obviously remembering some memories, because he's sometimes smiling and sometimes looking upset. And there's even a part where he's mouthing words, like reliving a conversation he had. Mm-hmm. And then it just cuts to some pictures of the band.
Yeah.
And some
live
scenes
footage.
of them performing live.
Yeah.
So I do like the fact that we get a couple seconds of Hooky with his low hung bass and his early 90s hair.
Yeah.
He looks fantastic with that long hair, I think. I always like seeing him in that period. It's not a great video by any stretch, but it's better than Round and Fine Time.
Yeah. You have left out the girl that walks around and then she becomes the drummer.
Right.
She plays the drums. And there is one other section I want to mention because it reminded me of something else. There's a group of people who are up like on the top of a building or something, and they're looking down at the girl and laughing. And those guys, to me, they look like the guys in the 101 video that are like
the guys that are at the hotel.
Yeah,
like the heavy metal.
Yeah, the Guns N' Roses guys. Yeah, they look just like those guys.
They do.
Yeah, and they're like laughing at the group, and it just makes me think, they're like the guys that would make fun of Depeche Mode or something. So just made me laugh.
Yep. I know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So do you have anything else for Run?
Only that I have heard the last 20 to 30 seconds of this song a million times due to rewinding the tape to hear the next song over and over again.
Okay.
One of the forgotten frustrations of having to guess where to stop rewinding.
That's true. And that next song
is Mr. Disco.
Just what I've been through the holiday we spent together lives with me now and forever. I tried but I can't find you. Tell me now, what do? I tried but I can't find you. Tell me now, what do? I can't find my peace of mind because I need you with me all of the time.
New Order's version of Summer Nights from Greece.
What?
That's Mr. Disco.
Summer Nights from Greece.
It is. It's the same sentiment almost.
Oh my gosh.
Just a summer love.
Oh, I never really thought about that, but I guess, you kind of do have a point there. Mm-hmm. Well, I like this song a little better than that one.
Oh, I like both those songs, but this is a better song.
Okay, that's true.
This song is not only just a great song, it's a great name for a great song.
I know.
Mr. Disco.
I know. And I read a lot of things where people said, there is no way that the New Order of 1980 or Joy Division ever would have named a song Mr. Disco. There's like, can you imagine?
If they did, it would have been very sarcastically.
Right, yeah.
But this one is not sarcasm because there are orchestra hits, there are disco lasers, as you like to call them.
Yes. Yes, disco lasers.
They go overboard with a lot of disco sound effects in this one.
Yeah, it's over the top disco.
So as I said last week, this is the song that really got me to take an interest into New Order because you introduced this song to me, and then I wanted to hear more songs that sounded like this. So I got the whole album, and I still think this would have been a fantastic single, at least in the clubs. If they couldn't release it as a pop single, at least do a 12-inch remix single.
Oh
for
yeah,
it. But
this would have been.
Seem to.
Yeah, I don't know why they didn't. I mean, especially it's called Mr. Disco. Why wouldn't you want to play this in a discotheque?
Yeah,
it seems perfect, and it's a great song, and
that was commonplace back in those days. Just release a dance single.
Right.
Yeah, isn't going to go to radio, but a 12-inch for the club DJs.
Yeah, and they could have done some really good remixes with this. There's so much to work with here. I really, again, feel like this was a very much lost opportunity.
I agree very much.
Well, it starts off with such a great intro, the electronic bass, that reverberating drum beat, and that kind of warped keyboard. And then we get Peter Hook's bass, and that fantastic electronic drum beat kicks in, and then we get Bernard's vocals. I was glad to finally get back to the electronic dance music sound of this album after the guitar-based song in the previous one. I like that too, but I felt like we'd been without this sound for far too long.
They seem to be going, we get Fine Time, then two traditional songs, rounded around, two traditional songs, and then this one. So it's kind of a 2-to-1 ratio.
Yeah.
I love that bass synth at the start as well. I think it sounds fantastic. This is an amazing beginning to the song.
Yeah.
I have a lot of trouble finding Peter Hook's bass in this song. I hear just a few seconds of it in the beginning, and then I hear it again about 20 seconds from the conclusion. It comes back, and I'm happy to hear him show up. But evidently he's in there throughout the song. I've heard people someone online wrote something about what he was doing, and then I couldn't find it. I read it once, and then I couldn't find it again. But I just don't hear him. But he does say in his book that the bass bleats in the distance, unsuccessfully begging to be heard.
Okay.
So I guess it is in there. I just don't hear it.
I
to
have
the
a note
end.
that it's definitely in the first instrumental break. I mean, in addition to being in the intro, in the first instrumental break, we hear it. It's low down in the mix, but it's kind of providing that foundation for the song that we're used to hearing if you listen for it.
I'll have to check it because I listened to it a couple times and I didn't notice it.
Trust us all, it's there. But this song does have a lot of layers to it. It can be hard to find things, but if you start listening, you can really hear a lot of different things going on in here. I think that instrumental break, the first one, there's so much stuff happening. That's where we get the disco lasers and we get a bunch of other keyboard
Orchestra
sections.
hits.
Yeah, it's awesome. But as much as I like that first instrumental break, I think the second instrumental break is even more incredible. It's from about 237 to 326. It's less layered than the first one. There's less kind of going on. It's definitely more percussion oriented, but there are some amazing sounds in there. And of course, the bass line continues to tie everything together.
Sorry about that. Dropped my pen. There's drums right at 2 minutes and 45 or 47 seconds that sound to me exactly like something that would have been on Dead or Alive's Mad, Bad, and Dangerous to Know album.
Okay, I believe that.
They last about 2 measures or 4 measures. They're pretty fast, and it switches to something else.
Yeah.
Because the percussion is always doing something new in this song. It doesn't hang around too long before it changes.
Right, it's constantly shifting and changing, and they're adding new little things to it, just little pieces here and there that just really, really makes this song very interesting.
And another thing that makes it interesting are some of the keyboard voices
Oh,
they use.
Yeah.
There are some great sounds. The first one that I really like is the first time through when they sing, "I tried, but I can't find you." Mm-hmm. There's a little keyboard sound that jumps in behind him, and then you'll hear it again throughout the rest of the song, but that's the first time you hear it.
Yeah.
And that's a great little sound. And then the second is the very brief bell-sounding sound that comes behind the chorus vocals.
Yep. I have a note about that too.
I love that
yeah,
sound.
It's so pretty. Some other sounds, some other keyboards that I like in the chorus are these kind of cool, echoey, breathy kind of keyboards that they kind of remind me of the sound in "It Doesn't Matter Too" by Depeche Mode. Mm-hmm. It's just a little more subtle than that. They're like, It's that kind of sound, and they're throughout the song as well.
We get Barney making up for his relatively poor vocals in Guilty Partner. Here he does a pretty fantastic job, I think, with his vocals. Very strong.
Yeah. I think he has very good vocals on this one, too. No complaints. I think the way that he delivers the second verse is just perfect. I really like how he sings that second verse.
And I like how he does the little whispered coda at the end there.
Yeah, for the longest time, until I actually was researching this podcast, I did not know what he was saying other than I searched many places but never found you, or whatever he said. Mm-hmm. I never knew the first parts of that. I couldn't figure out what he was saying. But I looked it up, of course, thanks to the internet. I was able to find out he was saying Ibiza, Mallorca, Benidorm, too. All those are places in Spain. Now, he pronounces Ibiza like the way the Spanish pronounce it with that kind of lisp, Ibiza. And that's why it doesn't sound like you might expect. But it's like, oh, yeah, that's what it is. So it's all the places that they like to visit.
Yep, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah,
I didn't know that either until recently. And then another thing at the end of the song, did you see that evidently when Peter Hook comes back in the last 20 seconds, he basically just plays the same bass line that he played in State of the Nation?
I didn't see that.
Yep. That's
oh, my
what
gosh.
people were saying online. I saw a couple people mention it. So.
Oh, well, if you can't copy yourself, who can you copy?
That's true.
Yeah. I think the very end of this song makes me think of like a nuclear bomb going off. It has that kind of phase sound that's like at the end of Round and Round, but even more.
Yeah.
More so. I don't know.
Yep.
Sounds very destructive.
I agree.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I really wish that they'd made a video for this one.
Oh, I know.
But now, I mean, knowing what their videos were like, right? I guess I don't really care.
we could make a better video for that for this than what they did, at least in our opinion.
I think the reason why I didn't know their videos were so bad was because when I was introduced to their videos all the way back then, before we had YouTube and all this stuff, was I had the Substance VHS cassette, which had 7 videos on it. And they were all really good ones. Of all the videos that they had made, it sort of picked the very best ones. And it had Confusion, which was the original version of the song, which has kind of a weak vocal, but it has a good video for it.
Okay.
It had Perfect Kiss. It had True Faith, Touched by the Hand of God.
That's my favorite. I love that one because they look like heavy metal guys.
So, I mean, these were like the most commercially minded clips that they made.
Uh-huh.
And they appeared in them and they seemed more normal.
Yeah.
So it wasn't until much later that I realized, like, oh,
Yeah.
they think it's clever not to be in videos and to sort of make boring clips.
Yeah. Not our thing for sure.
Not our thing. We like funniness.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just a lot of great things to say about this song, in my opinion. And this is my favorite song on the album.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I hadn't heard it for a while, but listening to it again for this podcast made me so happy. And whereas when I first listened to it over and over again back in the day, I was really more focused on the words. When I was preparing for this episode, I focused more on the music, as you might imagine, and I was just struck by how many fantastic sounds are in this song. There's just so much happening, but to me, it all fits together so well.
Yeah, it's a great song.
Yeah.
And it brings us up to song number 8.
All right.
And this is another great one. I think we're gonna see that this album's gonna finish really strong.
Yes, I think that's true.
And this one is called Vanishing Point. So last time I said that Round and Round was my favorite New Order song. But in truth, I listened to this song a bunch of times today, probably a dozen times today, and this song is just as good as Round and Round, I think. And it's too bad that it wasn't released as a single because I think that this would have been a very strong performer for them.
Yeah, and the band kept wanting them to release this as the single. I think
That's right.
wanted this to be the first single, and they probably weren't wrong. This would have been a great first single, I still think. Maybe you thought Round and Round would have been better, but I don't know. I think it's almost a toss-up.
I think Round and Round is maybe a little bit more commercial
Okay.
for a first single.
Okay.
So I probably still would have gone with that one. And I'm going to say the same sort of thing again with the final song, Dream Attack, because that's a wonderful song too. And many New Order fans online say that this 1-2 punch at the end of the record is the finest hour for the band.
Oh, okay. Well, I saw something about the last 3 songs being the Holy Trinity.
Oh, okay.
So,
That's cool.
yeah.
So there's something about the chorus to this song, to me, that makes it much more than just a 4-line refrain. I don't know what it is. I guess it's partially just the first 2 lines of the chorus. My life ain't no holiday. I've been to the point of no return. For some reason, I really like those lyrics.
Yeah.
Partially because of the multi-track vocals. He's not doing harmonies on himself, but
No.
there's more than one voice there. He's singing
He's
along with
backing
himself.
himself up.
And it sounds very powerful. It's partially that it's a fantastic chorus, but you get it only 2 times in the entire 5 minutes and 17 seconds of this song.
Right,
It's
right.
great. Normally in a song that long, you're going to hear the chorus 5 times or
That's
something.
true. Yeah.
And you don't. It's partially the bass line playing behind it sounds fantastic. All those things add up to like more than the sum of the parts. This is a fantastically strong chorus.
Yeah, it really is. I think the lyrics, my life ain't no holiday, I've been through the point of no return, that makes me think of We Are the Champions. But it's been no bed of roses, no pleasure cruise.
Mm-hmm.
Thought I'd throw a little Queen reference in there for you.
I like that. Mm-hmm. I see what you're saying.
Yeah, the chorus is very catchy, although it's a little hard for me to sing along with because he gets down to the bottom range and I can't sing that low. But I do think the verses are not nearly as catchy or as easy to sing along with as the chorus. I like the verses, but they are harder to sing along with. I think they're just not, there's something missing there as far as the melody. What do you think?
Well, I know Peter Hook says that this is the best song on the record.
Oh.
And I almost agree with him. But not quite. In terms of the verses, I guess they're not as innately catchy as that chorus, but I don't think they're ponderous or difficult. My main problem with the song is that I don't really understand what it's about. So I've read the lyrics a bunch of times today and thought about it for a while, but I just can't figure it out. I get this much from it. Life is tough, and other humans will make it worse for us.
Well, I actually read some things that said it was a reference to child abuse.
I saw that somewhere too. I saw someone who was writing an article about it, and it was obvious that English wasn't their first language.
Oh, okay.
And I couldn't find it anywhere else.
I saw it in a couple,
else?
two other places. Yeah. There was an article that said this was not the only song where he kind of made a veiled reference to child abuse. I cannot remember what the other song was, but
The guy that I read said the same thing too, but he gave no examples.
Okay.
He just said this is not the only time.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to say, but you can make that connection if you want to. But I'm sure, just like a lot of songs have multiple meanings, there may be another meaning here that we are just not getting.
Oh, there must be, because I'm not getting any meaning really.
Okay, very nice.
Although I do, like I said, I got the meaning that life is rough, but I also like the sentiment in the second verse, which I think is really nice. Feel your heartbeat lose the rhythm. He can't touch this world we live in. Life is short, but love is strong. There lies a hope that I have found. So there's like the optimistic part of the song.
Yeah.
Love is a reason to hope.
Yeah. And even the beat and the rhythm is kind of like, well, go to the dance club and escape your troubles, right? I think they were doing that as a band themselves anyway, so they could probably relate to that.
I love that line, feel your heartbeat lose the rhythm.
Yeah,
that's really cool.
that's a good line for a dance song for sure.
You know, I could easily see this song being an electronic song.
That's funny. I have the exact same note. Well, I feel this is a song that transitions to Bernard's involvement with electronic. I think with a few tweaks, I do say this could have easily been on the first electronic album.
Yeah. At this time, he just was kind of into these melodic, like rapidly played full piano chords.
Yes. Yeah. I love the piano in this. There's the chords and then the single notes played along with it. But before that verse starts that you used in the snippet, that was a great section to use.
Yeah. And he did similar chord work in like Getting Away with It.
Oh yeah,
and
definitely.
There were some mixes of World in Motion that had that kind of guitar or piano playing in it.
Right.
And it always sounds very good. And it just makes the sound a little electronic-y.
Yes, I agree. This is a great song. It's like another dance track, but it has a different vibe than Mr. Disco. It doesn't have it doesn't have that kitchen sink effect that Mr. Disco had, where they were just throwing everything in there. They're a little more judicious about the sounds that they choose to use, but once again, the sounds and their placement are very well chosen.
Yeah, there's a very nice instrumental interlude that's like a minute long.
Yeah.
It's almost from 3 minutes to 4 minutes.
Yep.
And it's so pleasant to listen to and interesting, but it's simple compared to the one that you heard in Mr. Disco, like you said.
Exactly. There's a point at which almost all the sounds drop out except for the keyboards, and that's what makes it so different from Mr. Disco. It's like this minimalism that we get. But Stephen Morris can't have the song go drumless for too long, so after that we get a little bit of hi-hats, and then we get the drums kicking back in full force.
Yep. His drum work, speaking of Stephen, his drum work really impresses me on this track. And I know that there's a lot less going on here than Mr. Disco, but for some reason I notice him more, and I'm more impressed by him more on this one. And again, I don't know how many times I can say this, but I think Peter Hook's bass work is a high point here in the song.
Oh, yeah.
And the keyboards are brilliant and sound fantastic. This is a highlight of the record for me.
Yeah, this is a beautiful, wonderful, excellent dance song.
And then again, we get a little coda at the end of the song.
Oh, right.
In the song before.
Yeah.
This time we get, and it's kind of weird because throughout this whole song, the lyrics are in first person.
Yeah.
He's saying I and me. And then in this coda, all of a sudden, it's third person, he and his.
Right.
So I don't really get that. But he says, I didn't write it down. And they gave him away
like in Whistle Down the Wind.
Like in Whistle Down the Wind.
Yeah.
By the look on his face, he never gave in.
Yeah.
So Whistle Down the Wind is a 1961 British film from the director of The Stepford Wives, Brian Forbes, which just very briefly, I'll tell you what it was about if you don't know.
Well, I read a little snippet, but maybe it could have been wrong, so I'd like to hear what you said.
So there are 3 children that live in this town, and an escaped convict is living in their barn. Or hiding out in their barn.
Yeah.
And the children mistake him for Jesus because he looks like Jesus.
Oh, wow.
And he sort of exploits that.
Okay.
So they'll protect him.
Okay.
And the kids tell other kids in the town that Jesus is here, and by the end of the movie, every kid in town, like 100 kids, know that Jesus is living in this barn. But, if you spread some news to 100 kids, it's eventually going to make its way to an adult.
Yeah.
Because kids can't keep secrets. So the adults come to take him away because they know that he's not Jesus and that he is this criminal.
Okay.
And at the end, he throws down his gun and gives himself up. And then someone comes to that daughter, the older girl, and says, like, oh, I heard you had Jesus here. And she said, well, you missed him. He's gone now, but he'll be back.
Oh, wow.
I also noticed that Bernard Lee, James Bond's boss, M, was the father in this movie.
Oh, how about that?
He was the only cast member I recognized.
Oh, all right. Interesting. I wonder why he brought that up in here.
Don't know. Like I said, I don't understand the lyrics that well.
Yeah.
And I don't understand why it switches to third person.
I still like the song. It has certainly never detracted from my enjoyment of it, that little coda at the end.
All right. That brings us to the last song.
Okay.
And this is a tune called Dream Attack.
I
Ah, very nice. So you're over there grooving. Look
I'm
at you.
dancing.
You are dancing, even though this isn't what we would call a traditional dance track.
I think it's a pretty dancey song considering it's not the heavy synths and
Yeah.
orchestra hits and stuff. That's a pretty upbeat guitar song.
It is an upbeat guitar song. Yeah, it's definitely the other side of the coin here as far as the two sides of New Order are concerned. We're ending with a guitar-oriented song. Pretty well split up. We got 5 and 4, one of each kind. So, and it has a really nice little melodic guitar riff to start us off. You didn't play that part, but what you did play was really good. But there's some really good string-like keyboards, which we did hear in that snippet. Very, very Cure-like. So it's not a straight guitar song. It's not just all about the guitar.
Right, yeah.
There's a lot of nice keyboards that make a very nice addition to the song.
I agree completely.
Oh, very good.
So remember when I said that Vanishing Point was as good as Round and Round?
Yeah.
Which I said was my favorite New Order single?
Yeah.
Well, I actually said that it was my favorite New Order song, but I'm trying to rewrite history.
Okay.
So I said Round and Round was my favorite New Order single. The reason I made that qualifier is I think that this is the greatest New Order song.
Really?
This tune buried at the end of the second side of this record is, I think, their best song that they ever did.
Oh my gosh. Well, that is the big news. That's really amazing.
It is amazing. It's just such a good song. But a funny thing happened as I was preparing my notes on this song.
Tell me.
I lost my headphones, as you know. So I was using these Bluetooth headphones that I got recently.
Okay.
And I used them all afternoon as I was listening to things. And by the time I got to this song, I started my notes, and then halfway through, my headphones died.
Oh, no.
So I had to take a break, and I had to walk around. I walked around for about 30 minutes probably trying to find my old headphones.
Yeah.
Couldn't find them. But when I came back to finish up, evidently that 30-minute break completely changed my opinion on the lyrics to this song.
Really?
I was so over the top with my praise for this song initially.
Uh-huh.
My notes for before I had my headphones die, I said, lyrically, this is sheer bloody poetry, one of the very best songs written in the 80s, not by Robert Smith. It is both poetic and accessible. You could discuss these words both in a classroom environment and down at the pub after work. That's part of what makes it so incredible. This speaks to every one of us. So I'm ready to have college curriculums based on the lyrics of this song.
Are you really?
At that point.
Okay. Well, then, did you change your mind?
I still think it's great. I still think the lyrics are wonderful.
Okay, good, because I have that the first verse is wonderful.
But I'm not sure what I was talking about saying that this should be studied in a classroom.
Okay. You're like, was I drunk?
Don't get me wrong, I love this song. But I think I was getting a little bit caught up in something or other initially. This is a really solid song whose strength comes from its honesty and its openness. And I have always and always will love the opening verse. Nothing in the world can touch the music that I heard when I woke up this morning.
Right.
Because this takes me back to a younger me when music was the greatest and most important thing in my life. So I would love for that to be true now. But as we all know, I'm older and the world has re-educated me on my priorities.
Yeah.
So the thing is, music is still very important to me,
Well,
but it's just not my number one priority. I think we just did 3 concerts in 8 days.
Yeah.
I don't think any of our friends would consider doing something like that. I don't know anybody that we hang out with who would do 3 concerts in a week. So
no,
I think we're still pretty groovy.
I think we are too. I think
groovy.
Music is still pretty important to us. As by the way, we're doing a podcast on music as well. So
yeah, we are.
Yeah.
But I guess we gotta also afford the mortgage.
Yeah. Yep.
So that takes priority.
Got to put a roof over our heads. So I also think that the lyrics in this song are very good, although I don't think that the rest of the song goes with that first verse very well. It doesn't really, I don't know. I love that first verse, but then the rest of the song seems to be like about the struggle of being in love and wanting to be with someone, but not wanting to be owned or controlled by someone. So in that regard, it reminds me of another beautiful song by another wonderful songwriter who is not Robert Smith, but is Martin Lee Gore. The song Somebody, which is a love song, but it's one where the singer is kind of conflicted about being tied down and closely attached to someone. I see a lot of similarities in the things that Bernard says here versus what Martin says in Somebody.
That's a good point, because this narrator in this song it's just against his nature.
Right.
It's against everything he's believed in his whole entire life to completely give himself to someone. And I think in Somebody, things like this make me sick.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to be tied to anyone's strings. I'm carefully trying to steer clear. Like, he's consciously aware of not wanting to do that.
Yeah, that's a very good observation.
Yeah, well, thanks. That's what you pay me for.
So at the end of Somebody, Martin Gore says, things like this make me sick. in a case like this, I'll get away with it.
Yeah, he's like, I know I usually hate this kind of stuff, but I'm going to just go ahead and go with it because I am in this state of mind that this seems right to me, even though it's been wrong.
And at the end of the second verse of this song, this narrator says something quite similar. Mm-hmm. He says, is it really such a sin? Because if it is, then I'll give in. I can't live without your love.
Yeah.
So he basically is saying,
right, all
right, I'll give in.
I know I've said this is horrible before, but I can't help myself.
Right. He's come to a decision that's against his instincts.
Yeah.
But then at the end of the song, at the end of the second verse, he says that. Mm-hmm. But then at the end of the song, he says, for you, I will do what I can, but I can't change the way that I am. Yeah. So it seems like he's going against what he just told us a few minutes earlier in the second verse.
Well, I think that probably refers to the fact that either A, he's still not going to be as cozy cuddly as you might want him to be, or B, he won't be able to do this forever. It will just not, he won't be able to hang around forever because it's just not in his nature. Mm. So,
although so he's saying, I'm not going to hang around forever, but he says, I can't live without your love.
Yeah, he says that, but he says that it's like it's just the sheer agony of being in love. It's I can't live without you, and yet I can't live with you. Well, that's another Queen song. I can't live with you, and I can't live without you.
I like how many times Love Actually gets brought up on this podcast.
Yeah, I know.
We didn't even really mention it right there, but
no.
I knew you were quoting
You
Love
knew
Actually.
what I was saying. Yeah, but I think it's just that love has many sides, and I think that they're reflecting both sides in this song.
I guess so. It's just
two of the many sides.
I wish it wasn't so confusing. And I saw in one of my books, I think it was Barney's book, that he said his lyrics represent him, that he's not straightforward and he's not easy to understand. So you shouldn't be surprised that his songs are vague and work their way all over the place before they finally come to the end and don't really reach a conclusion.
Right. I read that in an interview I read.
Oh, yeah. Him.
It was sort of like, I play things kind of close to the vest in real life. So, of course, my songs aren't going to be that straightforward either. Yeah, I thought that was very enlightening.
Sometimes, this is not one of these cases, but sometimes he's too standoffish and the song doesn't make any sense.
Right.
This one's not like that bad.
No, no. Well, let's talk more a little bit about the music in the song, just because there is a lot of good music in the song in addition to the lyrics and the vocals.
We get something in the song that you were astounded by on Round and Round, I think.
Okay.
We get
harmony.
Yeah, we get more harmonies.
Yeah. Yes, that's right. I did have a note about that, and I was all excited because it's nice. It sounds good.
Lines 1 and 3 of the chorus.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's a nice addition to the song. It makes it much fuller, friendlier. I don't know. I love harmony.
The chorus of the song is incredible. It sounds incredible, and I think that harmony is part of the reason why.
Yeah. But did you also notice right after he sings But I Want to Be With You, we get 2 quick little drum fills in there. Just a subtle touch. I don't know if you remember those right there. It's just another little thing that adds something to the song without you necessarily even realizing it's there. And then there's some really good building orchestra synth chords they're right after that are really nice too in the chorus.
Yeah, the keyboards and the bass are so perfect in the chorus. I wrote, I have no words to explain to you how wonderful this all sounds and how it
that's unfortunate for a podcast, isn't it?
It is. And how it can break your heart for this guy.
Yeah.
He really is in a situation that only he can get himself out of. He just has to make a decision.
Right.
This song is so effective at being affecting.
Ooh, nice.
I think.
Yeah, well said. Yeah. There's a really neat change in this song after Bernard finishes the second verse, about 2:30. The keyboards and the bass kind of drop out, and I get what I think is a key change with the guitar. And the guitar chords in that little 15-second section are really, to me, a big change from what we've heard in the rest of the song. I don't know if you remember what I'm talking about there, but
I do not, unfortunately.
Okay, well, I like it. It works. It's just look for it about 2:30 in the song. I think you'll hear it and you're like, oh yeah, there it is. It's just one little section. It just kind of whole changes, and then it goes back. But it's really kind of neat. There's lots of good little orchestra hits. Oh yeah, those orchestra hits. Mm-hmm. And then we get another, basically like a guitar solo and some plucky sounding orchestra synth sounds. It's all very syncopated. Everything after that second chorus, there's some really good rhythms in there. And at the end, as it's starting to fade out, it almost sounds like they're jamming.
Oh yeah, they are. I think they are.
Yeah, and to me, that's so funny, the idea of them jamming. And I think in that same article, that interview that Bernard talked about writing songs, he talked about how he doesn't really like to jam. And like, that's not his way. It's not his nature. But he realizes that sometimes that's something you have to do. Kind of like eating lettuce, I think he said. I was like, that's a pretty funny analogy. But yeah, it is just, I love the fade out on this song. It's so long. It's almost like they didn't want the song or the album to even end. And I really like how it just kind of fades out.
Yeah, I like that too. I like the whole ending of the song is great. Peter Hook calls this song his nemesis for this album.
His nemesis?
Yeah.
Why in the world would he say that?
He said that he tried for days to better this track, and he couldn't. So my question, something that I really am curious about, and I may actually, I don't know, I tweeted something last week, and Peter Hook liked it.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Now, it's unsurprising because it basically was a tweet that just kissed up to him, said how awesome I think he is.
So now that you've kissed up to him.
So it's no surprise that he would like something like that, I guess. Because this has me so confounded, I'm trying to decide if I want to attempt to get him to reply to a tweet about it. But does he mean by saying the song was his nemesis and that he tried for days to better it and couldn't? That he didn't like the song and worked desperately to make it good and failed? Or is he frustrated because the song was already so good that he wasn't able to add anything to it that made it better, and he's just upset that he didn't leave a mark on this fantastic song?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I hear his bass in here. It's bouncing along in the background. We get some more of that typical melodic bass between the chorus and the second verse, so it's not like he's not here.
Oh, yeah. He plays on this song a lot, but he's just saying...
So what was he expecting?
He's just saying that he didn't add anything to it that made it better than what it already had been before he started.
Huh.
And like I said, I just don't know if he liked it or didn't like it before he started.
Well, maybe you should ask that if you can say it in a 140-character tweet.
I don't know. You can give it a shot.
I'd like to see what would happen with that.
All right, so I'm going to agree with those folks that I read online. I think Vanishing Point into Dream Attack, in my experience of listening to New Order, is their pinnacle. These are two of their best tracks, back to back, and it instantly makes you want to start this record over, or at least side two. Start over. I can't think of another couplet of tunes on any of their albums that impresses me as much as these two do.
Well, I'll go one step farther. I think the last three songs on this are just wonderful and fantastic, and just the trifecta.
Yep, trifecta of power.
Yes, indeed.
Yep, I could easily be convinced to say that as well.
Well, good. I hope so.
I read so many things online that talked about the pair of songs that I just sort of jumped on board with that.
Huh.
So that is the 9 songs that make up New Order's technique. It only took us 2 weeks to get through them.
Yeah.
So, Sarah, do you have any sort of extra credit question for us this week?
Well, I do. This took me a lot of thought, trying to come up with a decent extra credit question. But I think, we just talked about concerts, so this is a very relevant one for us. We've seen a lot of concerts and generally like live music. If you had a chance to see New Order on tour for this album, would you have done it? Would you have gone?
Oh, man. Here's the deal with me.
Okay.
I'm a big New Order fan.
Yeah.
Like I said, maybe you think that, not you, Sarah, but maybe you listening at home, hi friends, maybe you wouldn't say that I am because you've heard me say bad things about Power, Corruption, and Lies, and I said some things about Brotherhood. I love Low Life. I love this album, and I love pretty much everything after this album. And I know a lot of people think that is a lot of bad material. Mm-hmm. I like Republic almost the whole way through.
Yeah.
I like Music Complete. I think it's fantastic.
Oh, yeah.
I also love Waiting for the Siren Song.
Mm-hmm.
But here's the thing. I even bought the New Order box set, and I had every song on it pretty much because there isn't anything rare on it. There's 4 discs, club, pop, remixes, and live. And here's the problem. I listened to 3 of those 4 discs. I never listened to the live album because for so long, and like we've said, even with this album, when Bernard really came with his A game and gave us some strong vocal performances, live... Before this, I think we said last week that sometimes he couldn't even carry a tune. He seriously could not carry the melody of a song that he helped write in a live situation. And I know he's better now. I know he's better than that. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. There's just something with his voice is not strong live, and he does lots of whoops and woos. And we've had opportunities to see New Order now.
Right.
And we have...
I think as recently as last year.
They're the one group out of all... We've seen lots of groups that we never thought we would see. We saw Yaz. Yeah. We saw Aha. And we've never bought tickets to see New Order.
No.
So if I'm not doing that in 2017 when he's probably a better singer than ever, I don't think I would have done it at this time. This album is too good. I like these songs too much to sit through what are probably going to be inferior versions of them. Mm-hmm. That's what I think. What about you?
Well, I pretty much agree with you because, like you, I don't think that Bernard is a very strong singer. I mean, he does definitely do better here than he does on a lot of other stuff, certainly his previous work. And so that wouldn't make me very happy to hear him singing like straining and not hitting notes right. That's frustrating to me.
Yeah.
I've already complained a little about Dave in the past on the concert review episode.
Right.
So, and he's an excellent singer. So I have kind of high standards for my performers, I guess. And besides the fact that Bernard is not a great singer, I don't think that they put on a very interesting show.
One of our friends told us one time that of all the bands he's ever seen, he got more of a sense from New Order than anyone that they were just going through the motions, like doing their job.
And I think, especially in this era, back then, they were still kind of that very standoffish group. They were not trying to be engaging on the stage they didn't care. That wasn't what they were about. And that was kind of the appeal for some people, but that's not what I want to see in a live performance. I want to see action. I want to see activity. I want to see people happy to see me there and not just kind of hanging their heads down and, strumming or playing without any regard for who's out there.
Yeah.
I don't think I would get that from them. Certainly not at this era.
Right.
So I would agree this would not be a show I'd want to see.
But that doesn't detract from your love of the album.
Not at all. No. I love the album. I love the songs on the album. Even some of the singles, I think, aren't as good as the album tracks. So that's another argument or another story altogether, but I still love the album. And I guess that's a good segue into our final thoughts and review.
All right. So we're going to each give a score to this record. We traditionally rank 45 adapters, those little yellow things that you used to use to play your 45s, and we give them between 0 and 5.
Oh, 0, huh? I didn't know we could do a 0.
Oh, I don't know. I've never given anything other than a 5, I think.
You give a lot of 5s.
I give a lot of 5s, but I don't always give 5s.
No, you don't.
I'm just making fun of myself.
Yeah.
So do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
I'll go first.
All right.
So one of the things I wrote down early on when I was making my notes for this podcast was that Sirius XM Radio's First Wave channel that we've mentioned many times on this podcast.
Love that channel.
Because we do love it. And they have a little promo they run where the woman comes on and says, sometimes since, and then they play a little snippet of something like Yazoo or Depeche Mode. And then she says, and sometimes guitars. And then they play something like The Smiths or The Cult. And I've always thought that they could apply that tagline just to New Order.
Right, yeah.
And I wish they would do that sometime. And they could play a snippet of, say, Fine Time for the Synths, and then a snippet of like Run for just examples from this album. I think Technique is just an excellent example of how different musical styles can not only coexist on one album, but even still sound very cohesive. They could have designed this album so that all of the dancey electronic songs were on one side and the guitar-oriented tracks were on the other.
Yeah, I thought about that.
I think that would have been an interesting way to do it, and I don't think it would have failed. I think it probably would have been just fine. But by mixing them together, you really get a better understanding of how talented this band really is.
That's true.
Because as you go from one style to the other, from one song to the other, all through the album, you don't really feel any bumps in the road, as it were. I have in mind the old 8-track tapes that you would hear, and sometimes they would rudely interrupt a song with a loud click when switching to the next track. You don't get any kind of a mental click like that when you're listening to Technique. We switch from techno-type songs to guitar-type songs, and it's not grating to your ears or to your mind. And I think that's a big testament to the talent of the band and how they're able to produce a cohesive sound. As I was going through this album track by track, I kept thinking when I got to this final review, I was going to be gushing about Peter Hook and how his bass really ties the whole album together. And I still do think that. Mm-hmm. I absolutely love this man's ability to make the bass sound so melodic. He's an incredibly talented bass player, and his bass lines certainly give New Order its trademark sound. And you can find this sound on every track of Technique, although on some songs it is harder to find than others. However, you knew that was coming.
Yeah, and I'm not happy about it. I like things to just end with
Peter Hook's
of praise
the best.
For Peter Hook.
Well, I'm sure he'd like that too. But as I continued through the album, I started thinking that the album's cohesive sound may owe more credit to the drummer, Stephen Morris, more so than to Peter Hook, because his ability to mix real drums and electronic drums, as well as all kinds of other percussion sounds, provides an impressive foundation to each and every song on technique. And he doesn't shy away from using programmed drums on the guitar-oriented songs, nor does he refrain from using real drums or real percussion sounds on the electronic songs. He adds interesting bits of percussion and drums throughout the songs to create textures and layers that, as I've said before, you may not even realize that are there until you listen closely. So I think it's kind of like this hidden aspect of the songs that is actually tying them together more so than Peter Hook's bass. Every song on this album is good, at least good. There are several that are excellent. And except for maybe closing side one with Guilty Partner, I think the track listing is well thought out. I'm not sure what I would have done differently there, but it's sort of a little bit of a slow end to the first side. The production on this album is first rate. Bernard's vocals are at least tolerable in almost every song, and there are some songs where he really shines. And the keyboards and synths, which I have mentioned before, are really well done too. So I find myself, for only the second time, giving an album a 5 record adapter rating.
Wow, I did not see that coming.
Well, as I've said before, technique is just a wonderfully put together work of art. I used to enjoy this album a lot when I first got into it, but it wasn't until now that I really understand and appreciate the complexity of the songs and the talent involved in making them sound as good as they do. So I gave it a 5.
Wow, that's amazing.
Well, I hope you're happy.
I think you had some good explanations and good reasons there for that 5-star rating.
All right, well, I tried to plead my case.
Yeah, it was very good.
So what do you have to say?
It took us all the way to that final song until we got what I think is the real highlight of this record. And that was the song Dream Attack. And my favorite part of that song is those lines that I quoted just a few minutes ago. Nothing in the world can touch this music that I heard when I woke up this morning. It made me think of something I learned from reading both Peter and Bernie's books. When they started playing music as Joy Division, the way they wrote songs was to stand together in their practice room and just play. They strummed and played riffs until something made someone say, hey, that was pretty good. And then together they would grow that little snippet into a song. And they continued that way for a while. It caused them some trouble, actually, when they got the chance to record Confusion with Arthur Baker, because he only had a few days to work with them and they didn't have a song ready to go. He told them, well, just go write something. And he went to the other room to do something. And they were hoping that somebody would think of something good that they could use. And it wasn't quick, but before too long, they had components that they would turn into that song Confusion. So this illustrates two things about New Order. The first thing is that the camaraderie and togetherness that existed in the beginning, it shows how they worked and how they created and succeeded as a band. It's sad to me that this record, this wonderful sounding piece of vinyl, marks the start of many years of conflict, which would eventually break the set of individuals into separate camps and then cause New Order to replace Peter Hook or cause Peter Hook to leave New Order. Reading tales of them working together to make their way in the world and then to see what ultimately happens to them is heartbreaking. Secondly, it shows how important music was to all of them, because obviously it wasn't easy for them to create these songs. They slaved away for hours, then days sometimes, for one usable bit. To most folks, the juice wouldn't be worth the squeeze, but for New Order, music was important enough to soldier through these hours of stumbling around and discovery. That's why when Bernie sings "Nothing in the world could touch the music that I heard," I believe him. I believe that music is indeed that important to him. And on a certain level, I'm jealous because, like I said, at one point, I genuinely felt that music was that important to me, too. I would love to know if his outlook has changed. After everything he has gone through with the Hacienda and the endless touring simply to keep that place open and fighting with Peter Hook in person and in court, I would like to know if music is still that important or if music is just now his trade. Ultimately, none of that matters, though, because I am supposed to be giving you a score for this album. I apologize if you want those last 3 or 4 minutes of your life back. I love this record, and it's my favorite New Order album. I learned some things about it as we did this podcast, though. I didn't realize how little I like Guilty Partner. I didn't realize how affected I was by the song called All the Way. That song really touched me as I was preparing for this podcast, the first part. I learned something good and something bad about the record. And the fact that I'm still learning things about my connection to this album has rendered me unable to give it a final score. I didn't know what to do. I never expected that after 28 years, I wouldn't have my opinion of Technique set in stone. So I simply had to look at what has come before on this podcast. I don't like Technique as much as I like Music for the Masses, or as much as I like Pit Shop Boys Actually, or as much as I like Yaz's Upstairs at Eric's. I do like it more than I like Phantoms by The Fix, and more than I like Dead or Alive's Mad, Bad, and Dangerous to Know, and more than I like Tears for Fears' Songs from the Big Chair. So, having been rendered intellectually unable to evaluate this record, my existing thoughts and logic on all those other records tell me to give New Order's Technique 4.25 stars out of 5.
Oh my
record
goodness.
adapters.
4.25 record adapters.
4 1/4 record adapters out of 5.
Wow.
But don't let me being tacky enough to come out and name specific records that I like more than Technique leave a bad taste in your mouth or conclude this episode on a down note. Technique is an incredible record, at times a brilliant record, and I would never want to give this one up. I need this to be part of my collection because I will always come back to this one, definitely every summer for sure, but also all year round because it is indeed the very definition of a new wave classic.
Wow. Talk about not seeing something coming. I didn't see any of that coming.
Because you just assumed it was going to get a 5.
Well, I did indeed. But I really appreciate your honesty and your openness and the reasoning behind your giving the rating that you did. I mean, that's more like what I usually do is like, well, do I like this more than something or less than something else? That's kind of where I end up with my ratings. But this one, it wasn't as hard for me. It's kind of funny.
That is funny.
Like we're opposites.
I had, at the start of the first episode, I planned on giving this a 5 out of 5. It wasn't until I saw the reaction that I had just trying to sit down and think about the song Guilty Partner that I realized that, you know what, this isn't a 5 out of 5 for me because it's having a bad effect on me.
Okay.
It's killing all my enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So I couldn't.
Right.
In all honesty, I couldn't give it a 5.
Well, that's fair and that's honest. And I really like the fact that you mentioned you are still discovering things about it all these years later. I think that is pretty cool. You know, I mean, we listen to these albums and a lot of them we don't listen to thoroughly. I think this podcast gives us that chance, like I said, to rediscover them and learn more. And I think that's a really cool thing.
Yeah, that's one of the best parts of doing it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yep. So, and like I stressed, don't let, as we bring that up again, the Guilty Partner was difficult for me. Don't focus on that. I love this record.
Yeah.
And if you're a New Order fan and you're listening to this, that's one song out of 9. Every other song in this album, to differing degrees, I had a fantastic time with and still love.
All right.
So that is our evaluation of Technique.
Yeah.
So we hope you enjoyed it. Last time around, when we talked about Depeche Mode, we announced that we were going to do a Depeche Mode album next.
Yeah.
And that's still true. However, they just announced news of their 3rd single this week.
Oh, yeah, as you had requested.
As I requested.
As I had hoped.
I had asked them to release this song,
Cover Me,
as a single, and they did. So we are going to do a Depeche Mode album, but we may have an emergency episode in there because there's a single and there's a video. And
oh, yeah.
I really do like to talk about the album spirit, folks.
Yeah. And I'd like to talk about that song because, as I mentioned in our concert episode, that is my favorite song on the album. So if I could talk about it some more, I would not be sad.
Sounds good. So join us next time as we talk about Cover Me, and then join us the episode after that as we tackle the wonderful album that is A Broken Frame.
Ooh, you're giving it away here, are you?
I'm giving it away just so they come back.
All right. Yeah. that should be a very interesting discussion.
It's going to be weird.
Yeah.
So we'll see you next time, and go out and listen to a little Technique this week. You're gonna enjoy it.
Yeah, you'll have a fine time.